Welcome to More Patience, More Impact, More Income, the podcast for real holistic medical practitioners who want to grow their high-impact, high-income practice without selling out. And now, here's your host, Chris Axelrad.
So I'm sitting in traffic. Thought I'd go ahead and talk a little bit about leadership. Why is it that I'm sitting in traffic and I'm thinking about leadership? Well, here's the thing. So we have a tenant that I've been renting space to in our North Houston office for, I don't know. It's probably been, we opened that office in 2011. I think she came on board in 2013, excuse me. So probably, 5 years. She's been an amazing tenant. She's a massage therapist who really is such a deep, deep soul, beautiful person. And she's going into semi-retirement. She's going to move into her house and work out of her house. And when I first moved up there, she was so supportive of us and referred so many clients to us, so many of her massage clients to us. So it was a really great fit when she decided to move into the office. She's been an amazing tenant. And here's the thing. So I just finished working in my Houston location, which is in the central part of Houston. And now I'm driving up to the North Houston location, which is in a little area called the Woodlands. And it's not close. Not only that, but it is, as I speak, 4:53 p.m. on a Friday, holiday weekend, because this is Labor Day weekend coming up. The traffic is out of control. Somebody said to me a little earlier, because I had mentioned that I was going to be going to this dinner right after work, which meant I was going to be driving during rush hour. And somebody said to me, "Wow, you're gonna drive all the way up there? Really?" It just made me think, this is what separates leaders from followers. This is what separates people who truly want to show up and make a difference, and people who are just content to just be average and just be part of the herd. Because there was never a question in my mind that I would get in my car and make this drive. And what's funny is when I first opened that office up there, because it's about a 40, even when there's no traffic, it's about a 35 to 40 minute drive from where I live. And I remember when I opened that office, I mean, you would have just thought that I had opened an office in New York City or something from Houston, Texas, the way people were talking about it. It was just, that's so far. Oh, that's so, gosh, I mean, how do you do that, And, my answer was always, I just get in my car and I drive up there. See, that never entered my mind, the length, the distance. You know what? The only thing that I was thinking about was there were people who needed my help. And I love what I do. And, we had already gotten to a point in our office, in our main central office, where we were pretty damn busy. And I was able to work it out to where I was like, you know what? I could condense all these people into 3 days, and I could go up to the North Houston office for 2 days, because this is before I even had the office, but I'm like, I could go up to that area of town for 2 days out of the week, because we get calls from there all the time, and people say it's too far for them to come. So why don't I just go to them? Is this me bragging? No, it's not actually. It's me wondering aloud why people in our field as healers. Now, here's the thing. Of course, we have to balance our priorities, right? It wasn't like I spent 12-hour days to go up there. I had my shifts are usually 6 to 7 hours long. So with the commute, it's like a normal work day. I didn't sacrifice time with my family or do anything that was just completely insane, right? To go up there. And that's kind of my point. The other thing is that the person, who says oh, wow, man, that's so, gosh, you're going to do that drive? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, and I'm sitting in an air-conditioned car. I'm just sitting in a chair with my foot on the gas and on the brake, hanging out, checking out whatever I'm going to check out. Like, might be some music, might listen to a podcast, might listen to an audiobook, or I might just chill out. So what's the big deal? See, this is the thing. Like, everybody wants it to be convenient. Everybody wants it to be comfortable. Leaders don't look for convenience and comfort. Leaders don't shy away from going that extra step to do a really, really good job, even though nobody is telling them to, even though there's no requirement. Leaders will go that extra mile. Another thing about leadership is, as leaders, we don't expect other people to do it for us. We don't expect to be spoon-fed. And that's what makes us leaders. That's what makes us leaders, is that when there's something that needs to get done, we find a way to get it done. When there's people who need help, we find a way to help. And look, this is the thing. This goes for anybody out in this field, anybody who's in this field that I'm in, this, or that we are in, because I'm assuming that if you're listening to this, you're in that field. This goes for anybody who's in this field, who is having success. The success you see today is the tip of a really big fucking iceberg, where most of what you don't see is a whole lot of hard work and a whole lot of commitment and dedication. People look at leaders and they think that they just showed up and just snapped their fingers and everything was like that. Leaders are not afraid to take risks. You know, if I think about the money I've invested, not just in the rent, but in the equipment, the help, my receptionists that have worked in that office over the years, you know, the staff that I've had up there, the clinical staff, the gasoline, you know, the tolls. I mean, the investment of energy, time, money has been an incredible amount. It's probably been at least, I would say at least $1 million, several $100,000 since 2011. Worth every damn penny too. You know, our profit margins aren't like massive, but we make good money, and the money part of it's fine. But for me, it's just like, it's fun, man. You know, it's fun. And you show up because you want to show up. You don't wait for other people to show up for you. You don't wait until it's easy and comfortable. You don't wait until it's just handed to you. The reason we're called leaders is because we're the ones at the front walking out into the unknown. We're the ones in the front, you know, willing to put our ass on the line and say, I'm going to step forward even though nobody else will. Even though nobody else is. I'm going to step forward. The thing is, when you're a leader, people will question you, and people will actually try to talk you out of shit. And the reason they try to talk you out of it, sometimes, honestly, it really is in their mind. They have good intentions, because most people are terrified to take any kind of risk whatsoever. They're terrified to step outside of the safety of the flock and the herd and the sleepwalking mentality that 95% of people out here have. They're just terrified to step out of that. And it is scary. So when they see you stick your head up and start looking around and start wandering off because you see a different path, because you have a different objective, because you have a mission and a purpose, and you have important things to do, there's going to be people who are going to question you, because when you do that, it really, on a subconscious level, it makes them question themselves, because they're settling and they are not able to see themselves outside of the mold that's been created for them. And that feels really dangerous to them. And they see you wandering away from that, and they're genuinely concerned for your well-being. That's some of the people. And then there's other people who will see you doing that, and they want to put you in your place. They want to be like, hey, what do you think you're doing? You think you're better than us? You think that you're special? And there's an anger and a frustration in that for them. Because again, it's a threat to their ego if you succeed. Instead of looking at it as, hey, your success is going to help me succeed because you're going to learn things and I'm going to be able to watch you. I'm going to be able to learn from you. I mean, hell, even if someone's not willing to teach you, you can learn a hell of a lot just from watching successful people. There's that saying, success leaves clues, and failure does too, actually.
If you're ready to fill your practice and keep it full without the stress and overwhelm, then get instant access to your free autopilot patient attraction playbook now at www.highimpactpracticesystems.com/autopilot.
You know, if you want to learn how to be successful, study successful people. There's tons of books out there, autobiographies, biographies, books that talk about successful businesses and the stories of how they were built. If you want to learn how to be successful, read those. And at the same time, if you want to learn how to avoid failure, you can read books and stories about real companies and things that tanked and that fell apart. Kodak, for instance, who used to make film. Or bookstores that got caught sleeping. And then Amazon. Here's the thing, bookstores, they had a chance. They had their chance with Amazon. They did. But I remember it was like the mid 90s, late 90s, actually, because I was working at the software company that I last worked at before I entered the medical field. And it was early on in my tenure there. So it was probably like 99, 2000. And I remember Amazon was starting to take off. But the stock analysts and all the fucking pundits and all the experts were saying, oh, it's not going to work. It doesn't have long-term viability. They're not profitable. They're not going to make it. And, you know, what they never realized was that the people who were in charge of Amazon, they had much bigger plans. They were thinking bigger. They were actually the leaders. And the people who were wanting to stay in the herd and play it safe were either criticizing them or predicting that they were going down. Why? Because it was about them. It was about them feeling okay. And they weren't willing to just look at what was going on. And they had the opportunity, and they refused to take advantage of it. It wasn't bad luck. Leaders don't depend on luck. Leaders don't believe in luck. Leaders believe in destiny. Leaders believe in vision and being true to that vision. You know, and you don't necessarily always agree with every leader's vision and mission. But here's the thing. A great leader, number one, a great leader makes the people around him or her better just by being committed to their own vision and being committed to their own path and being committed to helping others find their own path as well. That's what great leaders do. And you can't do that if you're relying on luck. You can't do that if you believe things happen by chance. So look at the things that you have refused to do. Look at the risks that you haven't taken. It's not easy to do this. And I guess I might as well say this. Another thing the leaders do, leaders are willing to reflect. Leaders are willing to reflect and own up to their shortcomings and look at their shit and improve on themselves and not hide that from other people. Leaders have transparency with themselves and with others. Looking at how you have fallen short in terms of taking risks, in terms of really showing up in a way that where you're not complaining and you're not making excuses, you're owning up to where you could do better, where you've done well, and where you could continue to improve. You own up to that 100%. You do whatever it takes. When you know what your purpose and your mission is, you do whatever it takes, and you seize the moment and you make it happen. And guess what? When you are doing that as a leader, as someone with heart, as someone with purpose, you bring a lot of other people along with you. You bring a lot of other people along for the ride. A lot of those people, like for instance, if I think about in my clinic, literally thousands of people have had some type of change in their life because of contact with our clinic and with our program and with just the vibe that we hold and we create, which all starts with me in terms of how I lead the clinic. And then on top of that, there's the employees themselves, the people who are directly really kind of like my, the followers, I guess you could say. And their lives are impacted by that. And they have experienced quite a bit of success. I mean, both of my associates that have come on board since 2015 have had six-figure incomes within their second year working with me. I guess that brings up another point really quick before I end this, because it's getting kind of long, but it's a good one. Leaders aren't greedy, okay? Leaders don't feel threatened by the success of others. Leaders don't always look for how to make everything good for themselves. They understand that in order for things to be really amazing and just in order for their mission and purpose to be fulfilled, that A, they need help, and B, they need to help others, and they need to learn how to celebrate the success of those around them and contribute to the success of those around them, and to not dwell on anger, resentment, and hate, and really and not to dwell on being greedy either. Now, that doesn't mean that as a leader we enable people with this entitlement mentality to take advantage of us. That's not the case either. In fact, a real leader demands accountability from the people who they work with and the people who they're charged with leading. We demand accountability, and we set boundaries, and we don't compromise on that. And yes, we have to teach people, and yes, we have to be patient, and we have to, again, be patient with them and be patient with ourselves, because we're going to fuck up too. I've fucked up a lot of things. I've failed. In fact, one of the things I always say, and I may have already said it on the podcast, and if I haven't, you'll hear me say it again and again, is that really the only difference between someone who is really successful and someone who isn't is the successful person has failed more. The successful person has failed more times than the person who is not successful. Because the person who is successful has tried things and tried things and tried things and just keeps relentlessly doing stuff. And they learn a lot faster what doesn't work, just as much as they learn what does work. And the people who are struggling are the people who overthink and don't move and don't take action and don't fail, because they feel like failure is the opposite of success, and it's not. In the Chinese medical tradition, we have this concept of the yin and the yang, that you can't have hot without cold. You can't have stillness without movement. They are one and the same. They are different or polar aspects of the same continuum. And it's the same thing with success and failure. You cannot have success without failure, and you cannot have failure without success. So leaders are not afraid to fail, and leaders own up when they do fail. And leaders are not afraid to succeed, and leaders own up when they succeed. That is the path of leadership. And when you follow that path of leadership, you're no longer thinking about what's convenient for you, what's easy for you. And you realize that really, like, here I am driving. I just finally busted out of the main cluster of traffic, and now I'm going 60 miles an hour down a toll road in an air-conditioned car. Life is good as I drive through this traffic on my way to do a farewell dinner for this wonderful person who's brought so much light into our world at the Axelrad Clinic. So show up and follow your heart. Have a mission, a purpose, and go for it. And be willing to step out and speak your truth and walk your path. That's the path of leadership.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.